watching the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean-Paul Leek, and this is Ropebreak. And here we are, Tuesday morning, the start of the wrestling week here on Ropebreak. So you know what that means, the Monday Night Raw review. Before we jump into the review, like always, we want to thank each and every one of the, then, now, and forever, the past, present, and future subscribers of the channel. So thank you guys so much. And we're going to have a lot this weekend. Of course, like I said, we always start off the week Monday Night Raw. We have the 4 shows. That's a given. But then, coming this weekend, we have previews and predictions for Extreme Rules coverage itself, and we also have Slammiversary coverage. So a jam-packed weekend. We're looking forward to it. We hope you guys are looking forward to it as well. So let's start with the Monday Night Raw review. And this was the go-home show for Extreme Rules. So, did they hype us up? Did they get us excited? Or did they leave us, with a bullshit show? Let's find out. So it opens up with MVP, MVP Lounge. And let me just quick say the MVP, when it was like, oh, he's on TV now, pretty much every show, it was like, they're taking a spot away from a younger guy. They're, even though MVP's with Lashley and stuff, it's like, hey, that spot could go to someone else. But MVP has been legit in my eyes, in this, return to WWE. So I can't complain with MVP. So he comes out and, like I said, MVP Lounge. And he tells, pretty much the crowd that his guest tonight he's like, this is, he's one of the greatest and nicest men, ever. And he's better than all of you. So, he's like saying that this guy's good, but he's also playing a heel and being like, but he's better than all you guys. I'm like, who is it? MJF? He's better than you and you know it? Like, who the hell is he bringing out here? So, of course, no brainer. It was Dolph Ziggler. So Ziggler comes out. And they both just keep complimenting each other like, oh, you're so great. No, thank you. You're great. Blah, blah, blah. MVP's like, I love how you screwed over McIntyre and you're not telling him the stipulation until the match and you're going to hold this above him. And then Ziggler is like, yeah, I know how to make his little pea brain. I know how to control him and get him all angry. And I'm going to get him, that, he gets fired again because I'm the only reason that he's even back in WWE. I'm the only reason that he's the WWE champion. So he, the same thing that we've heard previous weeks. And then McIntyre comes out and he's like, hey, MVP. He's like, I'm not going to destroy your set, this and that. He's like, I'm just here. I'm going to call out Dolph. So they start calling each other out. And then, of course, Ziggler, he's like, oh, yeah, what are you going to do? Take me to Claymore Country and all this shit. And then McIntyre's like, no, we're done for catchphrases. We're done playing games. At Extreme Rules, I don't care what the stipulation is. You step in the ring with me. He's like, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you bad. And that's going to be the end of it. Like, you're not going to get up. It's going to be done. You're going to wish you never, ever brought me back to Monday Night Raw or brought me up to Monday Night Raw from NXT. Like, he's like, you're going to regret this. So then Ziggler was actually selling it. He wasn't laughing like, oh, yeah, you're bullshit. Ziggler kind of looked like, oh, shit. And then, MVP's like, okay, calm down. Let's not have any bullshit. And then Drew's like, no, let's do, I don't want to wait till Sunday. Let's do this now. So he starts like, okay. And then MVP, that's when he's like, whoa, calm down. McIntyre's like, all right, it's cool. He walks up to Ziggler, boom, and just sucker punches Ziggler. He sells the shit out of this. He just falls down. He's done. Drew's kind of like laughing a little bit like, haha, like whatever. And, that's pretty much the opening segment of the show. So, it got you a little more excited. We still don't know what the stipulation is. At least, I don't think they let it slip or anything. Maybe they did on Raw Talk. I didn't watch that, to be honest with you guys. So, I mean, this opening segment, it got me, a little more excited for the match. I think Drew's going to retain. Like we said, the big rumor right now is Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, and they're going to build up Randy Orton and, continue that going on. But, Ziggler's not going to win here. It'll be an entertaining match, but I'm going to try to just comment on the segment itself, not too much into Extreme Rules build, because like I said, we do have previews and predictions. So that was the opening segment. No real complaints from me there. So then we get Charlie Caruso. She's backstage. Of course, she's interviewing Angel Garza, Andrade, and Zelina. She asks them, how are you guys going to get on the same page tonight? How's this all going to work? You guys, you might have won, but there's still some friction going on. And Zelina's like, listen, you're always trying to stir the pot. You're always trying to cause bullshit. She's like, enough is enough. We're done with it. We're going to be we're going to beat the Viking Raiders, and then we're going to become the tag team champions. This is what's destined for us. And then the Viking Raiders, they show up, and they kind of, like, they're all grunting and pissed. And it's like, oh, now you guys try to act legit and tough, when before you're playing golf and bowling and all that other bullshit. So, they said that they've been a dominant team for over a year. And they said tonight that they're going to run through them. And then Caruso, of course, okay, like I said, let's start to portray the Viking Raiders a little bit legit. Then she gets charmed by Ivar over over Garza. So it's like you're switching the things now. She's like in love with Ivar, which is like the joke, because Vince, he must find it funny when like fat people actually, find love. And he was like, oh, that's funny. And it's like, yeah, that is a real thing. Everybody finds love. So, hey, whatever. But, Garza looks pissed because, he's stealing his woman, even though, like I said, he proposed on NXT. So I don't know what they did with that. But anyway, we go right into this match when we come back from commercial break. And it was an elimination match. So this was the first of the Grudge matches, because this was the Grudge match Monday Night Raw. This Raw had like a gimmick. It was all a bunch of rematches, but it wasn't just rematches. They were actually had like a story behind them. So, I won't say it's lazy booking, but this match was actually pretty good. Like I said, I didn't know it was going to be an elimination. That kind of added a little bit to the story, but, it was still a good match otherwise. The first elimination in this thing was, of course, Eric. He's the weakest member popularity-wise, backs booking-wise, whatever, of the Viking Raiders. He was the first one to get eliminated, hammerlock DDT by Andrade. And then Andrade, he got eliminated almost just like a spinning, like a heel, not a heel kick, but like some kind of like spinning kick Ivar did. It was like, impressive for a guy his size, but I'm like, really? That's what's going to put him away? So that's Andrade gets eliminated. And then later on in this thing, so it's Ivar and Garza, and he actually hits Garza with the same kick, but Andrade puts his foot on the ropes, and then Zelina's like, no, his foot's on the rope, his foot is on the rope. So the ref's like, all right, legit. The count didn't, it didn't count. Match still goes on, and then he counters Ivar and kind of hits like a power bomb. Impressive for a guy Angel's size to, even hit that power bomb. He didn't get him real high up, but like I said, impressive nonetheless. 1, 2, 3. So, the heels win it here, the team of Andrade and Garza. And then, they kind of like Garza rolls out of the ring. He's like leaning over the announce table, and he's like all out of breath. And Andrade and, Garza, they look at each other. Garza sticks his fist out for the fist bump. They fist bump, and they're like, okay, legit. So hopefully they challenge for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Hopefully they win them. That to me is the next logical step, because, like I said, the Viking Raiders, they were legit. Now they're kind of funny. Now they're like legit, or like half legit, half funny. Street Profits are just unfortunately all funny. So you need to put them on a legit team that's going to portray them legit until you build up new actual tag teams, because it looks like Cedric and, Ricochet, they're not doing anything in the tag team division now. But I see, not to get too off topic, but I would take Cedric and Ricochet and MVP and Lashley, once their feuds are done with, Apollo and all that, put them in the tag team division. But we'll see. So then we get Sarah Schreiber. She's interviewing Ruby Riot backstage. And then before she can actually really ask Ruby some questions, the Iconics, they show up. They shoo her away, and they're like, they pretty much say that, her only friend abandoned her, Liv Morgan. Now she's all alone, blah, blah, blah. We're supposed to have a tag match tonight. Looks like it's going to be a handicap match because you don't even have a partner. And she's like, what? Who said I had a partner? Like, you're just running your stupid mouths. You don't even know what's going on, because my partner is, boom, Bianca Bel-Air shows up. She introduces herself. So we get the return of Bianca Bel-Air. So that was legit. Of course, she's like, I'm the EST of WWE, not NXT anymore. And she's like, I'm the strongest, the smartest, the fastest, the toughest, all that stuff. She runs through it. And she's like, I'm going to be Ruby's partner tonight. So then we get the tag match of Ruby Riot, Bianca Belair versus the Iconics. How do you think this thing was going to go? Do you think the Iconics were going to beat, returning, are pretty much debuting, because her first debut was only like a week, 2 weeks, and then gone. So Bianca Belair. And, it was Ruby, and I believe Ruby and Peyton started this thing. And then eventually it got to where it was Billie Kay and Bianca Belair. And of course, Bianca got the hot tag. She dominated this thing. Peyton tried to interfere, but, Ruby takes her out, and then Bianca's able to hit the KOD on Billie Kay for the win. So a good story for, Ruby Riot. She finally gets a win against the Iconics. They didn't go right to the Liv Morgan thing. They're stretching that out, which I like. You don't need to just jump right to the end of the storyline after 2 weeks. You can actually, book things over a couple weeks, and, maybe even a couple months if you're crazy enough, But I like this because Bianca's now on TV. We need to get more women in this division, especially more legit women who can challenge, Asuka for her title, because Charlotte's gone. As much as we hated Charlotte in the main event, she was a legit wrestler. You have some of these women on the roster that are good, but they might only be good on the promo. And then when the bell rings, it's like, ugh. But, I'm happy to see that we have Bianca Belair, back in the women's division. And then moving on, we get R-Truth. He's shown backstage. He stopped to congratulate Ricochet. And he's like, hey, you're the Raw MVP. That's awesome. Ricochet's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm wrestling Bobby Lashley with MVP later tonight. And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then Cedric's like, dude, you should stop worrying about Ricochet. Worry about your match with Randy Orton. And he's like, what are you talking about? My match with Randy Orton. I have a match with Ric Flair. And he's like, no, Ric Flair challenged you on behalf of Randy Orton. And then he's like, excuse me, guys, I got something I need to take care of. So then he starts walking away, and then he sees Tozawa, and he's like, I can't believe I'm going to ask you this, but I need you to make me a black belt in the next 6, 7, 8 minutes, because I got a match with Randy Orton. So Tozawa's like, no. He rolls him up. Truth kicks out, but then the ninjas run to help him. But then Ricochet and Cedric, they run up. And then so it's like, the 3 of them versus the 4 of the ninjas. And R-Truth, he's like, Tozawa, let's go to the ring so we can settle this. I'm funny, I would be lying if I said I didn't laugh. But, like I said, Cedric and Ricochet, we got to get something a little more serious for them, I feel. All right. And then we get R-Truth. He's in the ring with Tozawa and the ninjas. And then Truth asks, why he needs the ninjas, like what's going on here. Boom. Shayna Baszler's music hits out of nowhere. So that was another return to see Shayna. So that was awesome. She comes down to the ring. She takes off her jacket. Tozawa's like, and then he starts sending the ninjas after her one by one. So she takes them all out. Tozawa runs away. She looks at Truth. Truth is like, you know what? I'll let myself out. He tosses her the ring. She catches it. And then he, exits stage left. So then Baszler says that she's been really impatient. She allowed everyone to have their fun, but she's done with it. She's like, all these weak-minded women champions are just deluding themselves, thinking they're in control. She's like, but I'm the Queen of Spades, and I'm going to shatter your illusion with a hard dose of reality. And, that's pretty much it. Legit promo by her. Shayna is always a legit promo. Juan and I were actually talking. We said that, she's better than Ronda in the promo. She's better than Ronda with the intensity that she brings, like her facial expressions. When Ronda's on, Ronda's on. But, it's a lot of times she's not on. But with Shayna's always on. In ring is excellent. Like I said, promo is excellent. So she's, the better wrestler, our MMA fighter turned wrestler. But then if you want to just look at the MMA career to try to use that to boost and also, name value, then Ronda is definitely better off than Shayna in that regard. But it's good to see her back. Her and Bianca add a lot more legitimacy to this women's division. So I'm excited for that moving forward. So then we get Seth Rollins. He's backstage with Murphy. And then Murphy's like, dude, is this really going to be an eye for an eye? He's like, or is this just like a gimmick bullshit? Like, are you really going to rip his eye out? And then Seth is like, Murphy, nothing of significance happens without sacrifice. And you know what? He's like, don't think less of me because Ray's the one who asked for this. So then Rollins is like, hey, just stay backstage, focus on this match later. I have a message I got to go deliver. So then when we come back from commercial, Seth is in the ring and he's just kind of pacing back and forth. He has microphone in his hands, obviously, and he goes, "It's an eye for an eye. It's an eye for an eye for an eye." And he just keeps saying it over and over. He's like, "What does this mean?" And he's like, he knows what it actually means, but what he thought it meant at first was, just some kind of metaphor that Ray had for revenge. You always say, "Oh, it's going to be an eye for an eye." You just mean you're going to do to somebody what they did to you. He didn't think he meant a literal eye for an eye, but it's like, Seth, that's what you did to him. So no shit, that's what he's going to want to do to you. And then, but he said what I just said, that he's come to understand that that's what Ray meant literally. And he's like, "I'm trying to comprehend how we got here." And he's like, "All I wanted to do was make Monday Night Raw a brighter place." He's like, "And now we're at the point where I have to rip Rey Mysterio's eye out of his head." And he's like, "I never thought such a barbaric stipulation would be sanctioned, but everybody needs to understand that his intention was never to harm Rey Mysterio. He did everything in his power to just fulfill the prophecy, but Ray kept resisting." So he's like, "At the horror show, that's exactly what we're going to see. I'm going to be forced to rip out Ray's eye. He's never going to see his son get married. He's never going to be able to see his wife again, to be able to see the sun rise and the sun set." All this kind of like, Shakespeare poetry bullshit. He's going on and on and on. And I'm like, where's Kevin Owens? Because you know who that's going to come out. Nah. Kevin Owens comes out and says that, "Seth, I don't know why you're so bullshit. Shut the hell up." He's like, "I thought Ray was, but I do agree with you. I thought Ray was going to pick something like a last man standing or a cage match so your little goonies couldn't get involved." He's like, "But, you're such a piece of shit that you pushed Rey Mysterio, a guy who is, universally respected in the industry for not only being a legit wrestler, but a legit human being. You pushed him to the point that he wants to rip your eye out." And he's like, "That's insane. But I also understand where he's coming from, because at WrestleMania, I put my body on the line to, to take you out." When he jumped off, the WrestleMania sign, he was putting his body on the line. So he's like, "I understand where Ray's coming from." And then he's like, "But hey, I have something for you for this match." He throws him an eye patch and he's like, "This is from my friend, Jean-Paul Leec. No, Jean-Pierre Lafitte." He's like, "This is from my friend, so maybe you can wear this." And Seth is like, "Hey, this isn't funny." He's like, "I'm done with this. Murphy, get out here." So Murphy comes to the ring. He runs out. Aleister Black meets him. And we get actually an unadvertised grudge match, because this leads into Buddy Murphy with Seth Rollins in his corner with Aleister Black, and Kevin Owens is in his corner. I could have misheard it, but I swear commentary said that this was a tag match. And then it wasn't a tag match. It was just singles, and they each had their own guy in the corner. So maybe I misheard it. Maybe not. Maybe somebody can clarify for me. But this match was good. Again, how many times have we seen Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black go against each other? More times than I can remember. Are they all legit? Yeah, usually they're legit. This match was short, though, which I'm happy it was. It didn't need to go long. It was nothing to it. They're both just kind of pawns in somebody else's story. So it's like, why should they go out there and kill themselves? But legit match at the end of this thing. Of course, Aleister Black, he's getting set up for the Black Mass, or he's setting up the Black Mass, lifting him with his foot. Rollins, goes in. He's like, "No, enough of this shit." So then the winner is Aleister Black by disqualification. But like I said, it wasn't super long of a match, but these guys are always legit. The knee strikes, the punches, the hits, the cell jobs they do in the corner, or like when he has him in the corner there and he like super kicks him and all that stuff. That's like super legit move. But like I said, the winner of this thing is Aleister Black by disqualification. So then as soon as the bell rings, Rollins, he rolls outside, but boom, then we get all the faces in this storyline. Everybody who's pissed off at the Monday Night Messiah. You got Rey Mysterio, Dominic, Aleister Black, Kevin Owens. Buddy Murphy, I guess, just disappeared, materialized, got sucked into the ring. I don't know where he went. I know he lost the match and everything, and it went to commercial, and it came back, and they're like, "Oh, Rollins is all alone. Murphy's not here." And I'm like, well, what the hell did they do with him? Did they throw him outside the building and lock the door? I'm like, I don't get why Murphy wouldn't be out there or somebody. But so this leads right into the second grudge match, I guess. The Seth Rollins or not the second, the third grudge match, because the first one was the Viking Raiders and Andrade and Garza. But we get the other grudge match, Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens. And of course, Kevin Owens had all the other guys, around the ring. So this match, again, was also really good. We've seen these two go at it. Wasn't anything really new. Rollins, towards the end of the thing, he went for like gouging in the eye, and he was like, trying to rip his eye out. But before that, I mean, anytime Rollins tried to run around the ring and escape because he was like outnumbered, they were all kind of ganging up on him. So I'm like, Rollins almost, if you didn't know the storyline at all, and you're watching it with mute, no volume, you would think Rollins was the baby face. Because it just gave off that vibe. Like I said, if you had no idea what the story, but they were just saying, hey, he always used the numbers games. Now we're turning it against him. To me, this almost feels like I don't want to get too much into previews and predictions, but I feel like the way they're portraying this, it's almost like the end of the Monday Night Messiah. Like he keeps losing disciples, he keeps failing. He almost has to beat Rey Mysterio to keep this gimmick going, I feel, because he lost all these high-profile matches leading up to this, and also he lost this one because, like I said, at the end, he's going for the eye gouge, Adaaaaa, and then he tries to or all the faces come in, and then they're kind of like, hey, what the fuck, breaking this up. And then KO, he gets up, he hits the stunner, boom, 1, 2, 3, So that was the end of this thing. But they did give this match some time, and it was good. I don't think it was better than the WrestleMania match. I don't think they'll be able to have a match better than that, at least for a long time, because like I said, we keep seeing these guys over and over wrestle. I know it's been a little bit because Kevin Owens was off TV, but it still feels, it still feels like something that we've, seen recently. So, I mean, I'm excited for the match at Extreme Rules, but like I said, it was a little like, oh, you're just ganging up on the heel and he loses. It's kind of like, okay, I feel like the heel should look strong going into it. Maybe he should have, beat up Dominic or something, but I don't know. I wasn't too high on this segment, but I wasn't, I didn't hate it either. So then Ray gets on the microphone and he said that Seth tried to blind him, tried to end his career, tried to blind his son. And he's like, you crossed every single line. So this Sunday, you're going to leave Extreme Rules with one eye. So again, like I said, legit, Rey Mysterio is always legit promo. I want him to win because I love Ray. But I feel like if Ray, if he wins, where does Rollins go from here? But we'll save that for the Extreme Rules previews and predictions. So then we get Ric Flair. He's backstage with the Big Show. Our Big Show approaches him, rather. And then Flair's like, hey, we need to talk. He said, I spent 28 years of my 48-year career with you. And he's like, I think you're the best big man ever. And I've worked with the likes of, Andre the Giant, Brody, all these big guys. And he's like, he's like, you're the best. Nobody's more athletic than you. But there's one problem. He's like, right now, you're towards the end of your career. You're doing Hollywood, you're doing Netflix, you're doing all this stuff, and you're challenging somebody like Randy Orton, who's never done Hollywood. He's never left WWE. He's here all the time. He's at the top of his game. He's the legend killer. He's like, why don't you just, you got a good thing going with that Netflix show. Just stick to that. Stay healthy. You don't got to do this. Just live the good life. Big Show tells him that, he's like, I know what you're trying to do, Rick. You're the dirtiest player in the game. And he's like, but I need to know, but you need to know what you've done to Randy. He said that you've made him more ambitious and dangerous than ever. And he has no empathy. He said, but tonight he faces one of both of their friends, R-Truth. He's like, so are you willing to sacrifice all your friends, Rick, like Edge and Christian, R-Truth? And, are you going to sacrifice them? He's like, I'm not. So, legit stuff, from the Nature Boy and Big Show going back and forth. And I like this, I like this feud a lot more just because of where they're going to have this match. I was like, oh, is this going to be an Extreme Rules match? The story's there for Randy Orton, to make this, if this was on the Extreme Rules show, I wouldn't hate it. Spoiler, like I said, this is going to be for next Monday, another unsanctioned match. At least that's how they have it booked now. So that's cool. They're leaving it off the pay-per-view and having a high-profile match, for Monday Night Raw, something to actually make you want to tune in. That's actually some pretty smart booking there. I have to give him that. So then we get a lengthy video package. Oh, who's the legend killer? Who's Randy Orton? Showing all the stuff he did, like legit package. We get Randy Orton backstage, while this is all going on. And he's saying that, you're lucky if you leave the industry with a handful of friends, that same cliche catchphrase you hear a lot of wrestlers say. But he's like, some of these guys who I would consider my friends are Edge, Christian, and the Big Show, and of course, Ric Flair. And he's like, Edge came back, he did what he had to do, but he should have stayed home and been a father and, a husband. And that's what, Randy sent him to do. And then Christian, of course, had to come to Raw, defend his friend's honor. He's like, hey, I respect that. But he got a little too big for his britches. He shouldn't have accepted the challenge and, had to live the glory one more time. Like Edge tried to keep living the glory. He couldn't just do the Royal Rumble and done. Christian couldn't just be like, hey, you hurt my friend and done. No, he had to step in the ring. So, they got what they deserved. And then there's Big Show, a man, who he has history with. He's like, Big Show was one of the first guys who took me under his wing. He's like, but now he's back trying to stand up for, random guys in the locker room. He's like, and Ric Flair, he's family. He's like, so it would be a shame if Flair did anything to jeopardize our relationship. He's like, and then R-Truth, a guy who everyone thinks is funny, who they like. He's like, but, Truth is just another chapter in the book of a chapter in the book of the legend killer. So then Flair comes up and he's like, hey, man, it's time, let's go. And then Orton's like, yeah, no problem, Rick. I'll be right behind you. So then Ric Flair, he struts off. And then Randy kind of just looks at him. And it's not like a look of like, ooh, I hate you. But it's a look of like, I'm watching you. Like, I trust you, but I also am going to verify every single thing that you're doing. I'm going to be a little cautious. So then we get a commercial break and we come back from that. Truth is in the ring. And then out comes Flair and the Nature Boy. He's like, hey, Truth, I want to congratulate you for the incredible career you have. Of course, they didn't mention him, winning the NWA title and anything legit like that. But he's like, I want you to know that Randy, he loves you too. And that's why he's not going to punt your head off. He's just going to hit you with an RKO. So, it's like, oh, okay, an RKO, sweet. I guess I can live with that. So then, this match happens. The bell rings. Truth doesn't want, he just pretty much like is blowing this off. He's like, hey. He's like, I got to talk to Rick. Like, Randy, hold up. And then Truth, he turns to talk to Flair, but Randy grabs him. Truth immediately, when he gets turned around, starts boom, 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 punching Orton. He goes for the kick. Orton dodges it. RKO, 1, 2, 3. So then they go to make their leave, the heels, but then Orton, he stops and he goes back after Truth, and Orton lines up for the punt. Flair tries to stop him, and then, Big Show comes out. Orton grabs a microphone. He tells him to stop or he'll end R-Truth's career right now. He says he knows that Big Show wants to break his bones, but he should know that it will hurt him when he punted Edge and Christian. He says that he wasn't going to punt Truth anyway. That kick had Show's name on it. So how about next Monday they settle things in an unsanctioned match? Big Show yells, okay, and then storms out of the ring. Orton then retreats with Ric Flair. So then we get MVP and Ricochet and Cedric. They're backstage, and he says that MVP already told him that he's not interested, and he just holds up the United States Championship. Sarah Schreiber walks up and asks what MVP's game plan is for Sunday, and he says that it's to win is almost a foregone conclusion, and then that him and Lashley will celebrate at an undisclosed location. Lashley says he guarantees Ricochet will be nursing his wounds after tonight, courtesy of the Hurt Business. So then immediately, they walk away. Sarah, she spots McIntyre, so she goes up to him and she asks him how he's going to be preparing for his match without really knowing the stipulation. Drew says that he doesn't care what Dolph chooses. And as he's talking, Ziggler jumps him and starts beating the hell out of him out of nowhere. They start brawling around, the PC ring and stuff. And then officials, they're like, hey, breaking this thing up as we go to commercial break. So, the R-Truth and the Big Show, Randy Orton, all that stuff, this segment is good. Like I said, this match for Raw is hyping it up, gives you a reason to want to watch Raw, but it also makes Extreme Rules a pretty loaded show to begin with. It's unneeded for that show. It'll keep Extreme Rules short and sweet, which is good. And like I said, this adds some hype for next Monday. And, R-Truth not R-Truth, Ricochet, Cedric, MVP, these guys are kind of lost right now. We haven't seen Apollo for 2-3 weeks, I feel. That kind of hurts it for me. I was hoping we would have saw Apollo Crews tonight. We didn't see anything, so who knows? Maybe he's one of those guys who's sick and they were really trying to, oh man, Like, again, who knows? Maybe that's why he wasn't on TV. They're trying to have him rest, test him so he's clear. But if he's not clear, I don't know what they're going to do. And that's just me speculating. I'm not saying he was actually, sick or anything, but who knows? But I would have liked to see him to help build this. And I liked, the little thing with Drew and Dolph beating each other up. It just added a little bit to it, and it didn't take much time away from the show. So then we get Lashley with MVP in his corner versus Ricochet with Cedric in his corner. So, this was pretty much the same thing that, we see in the previous couple of weeks with these guys going at each other. Ricochet looks decent, gets a little bit of offense, but obviously this thing's short, sweet. Lashley gets the win. I like how Ricochet did kick out of the Dominator. That was legit. But then, he tries to go for a comeback. He looks for the 630. Lashley moves. Ricochet hits a springboard, but gets caught in the full Nelson and then has to tap. So the right guy won. Unfortunately, you got to build up Lashley. Ricochet, I feel like there is some plans with him. Like I said, they did the 365 on him. He was on Raw Talk. He's, pretty much in a lot of segments in these past couple shows. So I'm hopeful that they do something with him, but we'll see. So then after this thing, Lashley, he refuses to break. So Cedric comes in. He punches away Lashley. He doesn't let go. MVP runs in, and then Alexander kicks him. So then Lashley grabs Cedric, and then, he slams him down, and we go to commercial. So he does the same, he won't let go, and, they just beat down both these guys. Then, after we come back from commercial, the announcers, they run down the card for Extreme Rules that's been announced so far. I don't think they'll really announce anything new on SmackDown, but we'll see. Then Charlie Caruso, she interviews Big Show backstage, and she asks him, about the unsanctioned match with Randy Orton. And she's like, hey, are you going to accept this? Even though he said okay, in the previous two segments before. So I don't know why she's asking him this. And he's like, yeah, if you didn't hear, I accept. And he just, boom, walks away. So then we get Bayley and Sasha. They come to the ring, and Bayley says that they wanted the Raw audience to see something special. So then they show a tribute of these two women. Legit stuff. If you are like, oh, Bayley's annoying with the heel turn, I don't like it. Oh, Sasha Banks, she's just a crybaby for more money. She left, came back, this and that, whatever you want to say. These women are legit. They are carrying the division. Becky Lynch, she left, she's gone. Charlotte, 90% of the people who understand wrestling can't stand her because they know how overpushed she is. And, these two are a breath of fresh air, I feel, leading the charge for the women's division. And then you get Asuka. She's really the only challenge to them because Nikki Cross, I'm sorry, is a joke. And, now we got Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler. These women are kind of, making a reappearance, moving themselves up. So I feel that these two as heels are good to go against women like that. So the tribute video and just everything they accomplished, NXT in the early years, like she said, Sasha, the first woman, Hell in a Cell, all that stuff, legit, you can't take anything away from them. And speaking of not being able to take anything away from them, we go right then to the main event match, the Kabuki Warriors versus Bayley and Sasha for the women's tag team championships. And this match, when this thing started, the match itself, I believe they almost had like 20 minutes, 16, 17 minutes to do this thing. So they gave them a legit match. Again, you could have put this on a pay-per-view and I wouldn't have complained. This was a great match. You had Asuka. She started the thing, I believe. She looked good. Tagged in Kairi. Kairi was in for the lion's share of this match, I would say. But she looked good. Yes, she got beat down by Bayley and Sasha, but it was heel tactics. When Kairi had offense, she looked good. She hit a double spear. She hit that sliding elbow a couple times. She even hit an insane elbow on Sasha, legit insane elbow. And it would have probably, kayfabe, would have won the match. But, Bayley broke up the pin. and then, they were brawling a little bit. But, they had double hip attacks and stuff. They looked good. The heels, also looked dominant. All 4 women looked legit in this match. So that's the one thing, I really want to applaud them. But, of course, were they going to do the title switch? And then, no, they weren't going to do nothing like that. They're going to keep it Bayley, those straps, and Banks 2 belts. So at the end of this thing, Kyrie, she goes up again for the insane elbow. Here, hold on. Yeah, she goes up again for the insane elbow, but Bayley pulls her out of the ring, and then Asuka takes out Bayley, and then she hits a forearm strike to Banks, but an Alabama slam onto Banks, and then she goes for the forearm, but then Banks counters that with the Banks statement. And the only thing I didn't like about this match is the legit tap was like, I shit you not. It was like that. It was like you're tapping on your mom to wake her up when you threw up and you're like, I can't go to school. I'm sick. And you do that like, oh, wake up. It was like the most, like, I mean, hey, maybe that's just how they do it, in Japan, and she's not used to the over exaggerated, like, da type tap. I don't know. But, the little nonchalant tap. The winner is, of course, the Golden Role Models. The right winners of this match, I feel like I said, you're not going to do the title switch. Wouldn't make sense, especially if Kyrie and the rumors are true, which at this point I think it's almost confirmed, not rumors, that she's going to be returning to Japan sooner rather than later. So, like I said, for that reason alone, you weren't going to do the title change. But that was Monday Night Raw. I really didn't have any complaints with this show. I can't think of any segment. Maybe the R-Truth stuff is like a little like, if you want just a serious, but it made me laugh. So I can't be like it was a awful, useless segment. But other than that, I really can't think of anything that was like, oh, I would have changed with the show. Again, 3 hours is just a lot to consume on a Monday. That's really my only consistent complaint with Monday Night Raw. I feel these shows would be a lot more enjoyable if they were only 2 hours. But it was the go-home show for Extreme Rules. Got us a little more excited. Again, like I said, I'm not trying to go into really any Extreme Rules predictions and build because I want to save that for the Extreme Rules previews and predictions. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, The Original Rope Break, Twitter, The OG Rope Break, and right here on YouTube, The Original Rope Break, for the best content in the YouTube wrestling community. So follow us on all those social media links. Click the thumbs up, comment, and like I said, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out last week's videos if you're a little behind. We got everything covered, and stay tuned for all the stuff we have coming this week. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. And like Juan always says, we have one thing left to say.